Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this interesting session around the theme Hyperconnected Ecosystems, Building Block for Digital Business. The digital transformation wave sweeping across industries has accelerated at an unprecedented pace as journeys worth years of transformation were compressed into months and even weeks. As the traditional business models got upended, businesses are revisiting their operating models and interactions with their customers, partners, and employees as they increasingly move towards digital channels of engagement. Now, the digital tsunami and the consequent changes are not transient, and they are here to stay for the long term, with organizations now looking at digital as a strategic business imperative to stay nimble, competitive, and relevant amid the highly dynamic and uncertain landscape. From the customer perspective, businesses need to be nimbler, work faster, and make delivering a superior customer experience their top priority by providing an omni-channel experience. Now, if you look at it from an employee perspective, then businesses need to enable frictionless collaboration, and all this while ensuring that the underlying systems and data are protected. Connectivity forms the backbone that enables this entire digital ecosystem that I've spoke about. There is a need for connected technologies in order to drive business performance. Hyperconnected environments are giving technology-driven business enablement a whole new meaning. In a hyperconnected ecosystem, people, processes, and infrastructure connect and collaborate seamlessly to an extent where the whole organization transforms itself into a holistically connected entity. In today's session, we will be talking more about what does this hyperconnected ecosystem mean and how it can help fuel digital transformation for organizations. Today's session is divided into two parts. We will start with a CEO Fireside chat, followed by a CIO panel discussion moderated by me. So without further ado, let me introduce the speakers of the very interesting CEO Fireside chat. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sauvik Banerjee, CTO and founding team, Tata Digital and Tata New, Mr. Hari Nair, Vice President, Subject Matter Expert and Global Solutions Center at Tata Communications, and moderating this session will be Yashwendra Singh, Executive Editor, ETCIO. Welcome, gentlemen. Over to you, Yashwendra, to take forward this fireside chat.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this interesting fireside chat on hyperconnected ecosystems, the building block for digital business. The acceleration of digital adoption has already transcended the need for connected technologies in order to drive business performance. Hyperconnected environments have given technology-driven business enablement a whole new meaning. In a hyperconnected ecosystem, people, processes, and infrastructure connect and collaborate seamlessly to an extent where the whole organization transforms itself into a holistically connected entity. But what are the building blocks of a hyperconnected ecosystem? In this session, we will find answers to this and other pertinent and crucial questions that will help enterprise technology leaders navigate the advanced world of hyperconnected digital experiences seamlessly. And to provide answers, joining me in this discussion are two very senior enterprise technology leaders. Please welcome Mr. Sauvik Banerjee, CTO and founding team member, Tata Digital and Tata New, and Mr. Hari Nair, VP Solution, Technical Specialist, Tata Communications. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Yash.
Thanks, Yash.
Great to have both of you. And gentlemen, I'll open up the discussion with Mr. Sauvik. Sauvik, a hyperconnected ecosystem means connecting people, data, and assets anywhere, anytime. The success of a hyperconnected ecosystem hinges on enhanced agility, resilience, and efficiency across the entire value chain. Now, achieving all this is easier said than done. What are the building blocks of each of these strategic areas, and how can organizations holistically merge this into an effective hyperconnected space? Your thoughts here, Sauvik.
So it's always better to explain the framework first. What does the definition of hyper-connected ecosystem mean? The base definition means, as you rightly said, it's a stitching of systems, stitching of people across verticals, horizontals in the organization, within the organization, and how that interconnectivity of systems, people, and processes now becomes available for an organization, for your B2B customers, for your B2C customers, for your D2C customers. So I'll give you an example. I came back to India as the global CTO for SAP, helping Reliance set up the entire geo infrastructure. What it required was a mindset shift. So any enterprise organization which is 7, 10, 15, 20-year-old, when they transform, the mindset has to shift. So a basic example was, first, connect the people, processes, and the physical infrastructure facilities through systems so that people can connect remotely and work. And this was pre-COVID, which was fascinating. And then you deploy this stitching outside your ecosystem, which is towards your customers, or towards your internal assets or properties. Example, the Jamnagar plant. Or in Tata's case, let's take the example of Tata Steel. When Tata Steel's multiple plants require to be connected through systems, which is the easy part. How are people accessing multiple mesh topology systems, networks across, example, the plant in Jamshedpur to a Bhushan Steel plant, or example, to the Kalinganagar plant. Systems are connected. People connecting through many applications on mobile apps, accessing these systems. Now, when this sort of a framework is established, how do you sell this framework to your consumers who are buying, say, suppose the B2B format of steel across the world, so that the connected ecosystem becomes immersed as part of your day-to-day? It's easier said than done. But you see a lot of organizations in the country and across the world in our group where we are striving to achieve hyperconnectivity. Biggest value is growth. Biggest value is velocity, speed. And the biggest value is convenience to internal and external members of our fraternity, in our clients, in our customers, and our employees. So that's just an overview from my part.
Oh, wonderful, Sauvik. Thanks for explaining it so beautifully. Great. Let me come to Hari now. Hari, while we've introduced the concept of hyperconnected ecosystem, it will be great if you can contextualize hyperconnected ecosystems in the present environment, and if you can throw light on some of the trends in the market for hyperconnected ecosystems.
Yeah, thanks, Yash. Some very important points mentioned by Sauvik there. So, what we see from a hyper-connected ecosystem, it really means, I think, at the bottom end, connecting people, right, to the data and assets anywhere, anytime, and obviously, in a secure manner. Okay, organizations which are all becoming in some format, digital entities, are creating a compelling experience, right? They want to, keep the attention of the customer, and obviously they can do that by ensuring that their partners and their employees, can use these systems effectively. And there are challenges of this hybrid model which we are now getting into, and it's become an absolute existing way we should be working. And that's adding to a new mix. So a lot of what we see in terms of the systems and capabilities, they are all turning into a very software-oriented model, and a large section of employees and customers are working out of their homes, and and they want a flexible model, right, of working. Employees' experience is being challenged by this hybrid model. Customer experience, while all enterprises are, obviously looking at, like Sauvik mentioned, the growth part, and how do we give an extraordinary experience from the digital space. This is the area where I think there's a lot of work. Almost all the companies are working on. And in the hyper-connected ecosystem, we kind of did a survey of close to around 750 CIOs and CEOs, and what we and in the survey we understand that all of them are reasonably they are all in that journey. Okay, so almost 46% of the survey believes that their organizations are strong at offering some of the base high-end quality user experience through this value chain. But an interesting statistics also is that the biggest challenge for the organization is to adapt to the change. So some point, very valid point raised by Sauvik that you have the technology today to help you, but are you ready to do that change? Okay, and then that's an area where we do see a major change which has to be done, but it is a natural push, across all parts of the organizations.
Sure.
That's
sure. Great inputs there, Hari. Coming back to you, Sauvik, you talked about the importance of integrating various aspects, different pieces to come up with this hyper-connected ecosystem. So going forward, it will be really critical to integrate human interactions with digital experiences, and that will actually determine the success of building a hyper-connected ecosystem. And this will be enabled by omni-channel engagement and collaboration platforms with embedded programmable communications. According to you, what strategy should organizations and technology leaders adopt to humanize the technology experience across their hyper-connected ecosystems?
See, the hyper-connected part, what Facebook has now termed metaverse, and Microsoft's equivalent of metaverse, and 2 days back, NVIDIA's equivalent of metaverse. Let me just paint the picture where we are today, how omnichannel and how that world. And by the way, very important trivia, none of you knew. The last Steven Spielberg movie, which is Ready Player One, is actually a conversation between Steve Jobs very many years back. In recent past, another conversation between Steven Spielberg, Satya Nadella, and Mark Zuckerberg. And then that movie got manifested. It's actually a very realistic painting the picture of what they are working on. So just coming back to normalcy, the way we are trying to see is example. Again, I'll take live examples. In the COVID times, we introduced, thanks to my dear friend's organization, Tata Com's tool set, I was able to deploy the video association in a store, sitting from here or where you are sitting, if I wanted to buy a Voltas Beko. Earlier, what was it? It was ship from store, click and collect never worked in India. So COVID helped a lot of things. The video assisted digital experience of online banks and accounts could be opened through the digital KYC process. In electronic space in Chroma, what Tata Communication and Tata Digital and Tata Chroma did was deploy the video commerce assist module so that a user can connect to store, speak to my agent within the store, example, a Juhu format store of Chroma, or example, the format stores across the cities, and actually see the real product. Because digital was static. It could give you a product detail page, but it was still static and dynamic parameter content. What it allowed you to do that during COVID, I can't go out of the home physically. So that got achieved during COVID. Now let me bring the metaverse context into it. In 2 to 3 years' time, and people are going to crack the headset problem. If you take the headset of Oculus Rift out, if you genuinely want to converse to example Yash and Hari, and Sauvik wants to have this conversation while I am near Tata Com's office or the Transit offices, I physically and virtually can walk into a conference room where you wanted to have this meeting in person. The base holographic model is cracked. It is going to get commercially used extensively in the next 2 years. US is trialing out, Middle East is trialing out, India is trialing out. What we are looking from take the metaverse utopia out of the way. Let's take basic AR. Let's keep VR for the time being separate. Basic AR today would allow you to do what the world of Pokemon Go has showed us or PUBG has shown us. That literally a product or an experience or a service can be accessed in its own environment by any normal human being from whichever part of the world, country you are in. Connect that together in a community mode. So you will see the next Spider-Man release in a virtual community sitting in an Inox, probably either in the cinema or with 10,000 people at the same time at the physical front of your laptop, having the same experience. The constraint is that headset. Now, what Microsoft and Facebook, and of course, we will also work towards, and Google is working, is work towards how to optimize that frame. Today, as we speak, you have the frame from Bose and many sunglass providers and audiovisual providers who are giving you the connected glasses, just a normal unrestricted connected glasses. The next evolution will come in 15 to 24 months' time when the connected glasses, and if you remember what Google Glass was ahead of time, privacy issues, now all getting ratified, will be able to get you immersed into the metaverse. So my theory is, whatever Teams meeting, Zoom meeting, collaboration meeting, the next step is a basic hologram through an AR, base hologram. So you have base iOS, Android devices. Next step is a community AR in a virtually immersed mode. And it is not an art of the possibility phrase anymore. It is real. And any retailer, anybody, because what the COVID has done has made the thumb architecture very fluid for the normal man on the street. So any devices, because their kids are doing school, and privileged, underprivileged, kids are doing schools on very many devices. The device morphation has not happened for very many years. Now the device is going to get morphed. So I'll rest my point here and let's see what Ari says.
No, wonderful. Sauvik just seems, out of a sci-fi movie. So we
really, if you YouTube what Metaverse is capable of doing, and if you just see what Satya and Mark Zuckerberg, and we are exposed to that technology, because we are trialing and doing all sorts of the Santa Clara team of Tata Communication is continuously innovating. So yeah, we are we are at the cusp of a paradigm shift.
Absolutely.
And right conversation to have.
Right. Just at the tipping point of what I would call, a complete immersive experience.
Yeah. The framework is ready. Now, how the use cases get built by very many people, very many organizations will depend on how they innovate about their business model.
True. Wonderful. Sauvik, my next question is also to you. The ability to communicate is a critical step towards creating a hyper-connected ecosystem. And it is not enough to simply cooperate, across teams to get tasks done. The goal is to drive more collaboration and creativity between employees, customers, and business partners, the whole ecosystem. So at the organization level, how can business and technology leaders encourage secure and productive communication and collaboration?
So I'll take the cue from Hari's point. Hari said the hybrid model is a part of life today. But decision-making or a solution solving, whether it's a P&L problem solution solving, or it's a tech solving, or is a marketing solve, N to N-1 decision-making in person will not go away. It is, I always take normal use cases. Everybody thought, and nobody's going to go and watch Suryavanshi in the cinema halls. It's cracked 200 crores with 50% occupancy in the cinemas, right? This is just normal knowledge. Now, in-person movement is starting to happen with the third wave or the fifth wave or the 10th wave keeps coming. And we will have to, as a humanity, as a community, has to fend it off. So in-person decision-making of N-1 or a couple of days in a week, N-2 has to move into some sort of a digital formation and a physical intervention when decision-making or problem-solving is required. Certain tools, certain decisions in a whiteboard can be solved in 10 minutes. That in a Zoom or a Teams or a Google Meet does not give you that flexibility. Is it required for anybody and everybody to come back to office? In the interim, no. But when the world does normalize, physical collaboration with technology at your tool set can also operate between first floor and fifth floor. Can also operate between the offices of South Mumbai and Andheri. Can also operate between South Mumbai, Andheri, and the Bangalore office and the Gurgaon office. In person, also in office, also multi-collaboration, and the rest of the young guns of the world who doesn't want to do 7 days, their collaboration can be restricted in 2 to 3 days. But systems are available. Systems have to evolve, because what today's Teams or Zoom or Google Meet doesn't do you is real physical presence. If I want to knock, you would feel the knock of the door. If I want to scribble, the scribbling, or if I want to actually modulate my voice and actually show my exuberance or happiness or prima facie my angst, that virtually Hari and Yash you have to feel. We are still far away from that. And that's, I think, the next stage of evolution which we'll go through. Because unless emotion, physical, tangible interfaces are built, immersed into the world of conference and communication technologies, we will not be able to emote the way we want.
Sure. Great thoughts there, Sauvik. Coming back to Hari. Hari, as mentioned earlier, a connected ecosystem would cover different stakeholders. And two of the most common ones are employees and customers. What are your views on how to connect them better in the digital era?
Yeah, so some extraordinary thoughts. As usual, it's always great to talk to Sauvik, because you hear what's happening and also what is going to happen. Okay, so and to be very honest, some of these use cases are already, the questions have already been asked. Okay, so his point on can I tap someone, okay, and get their attention if I'm walking a virtual store, is something it's worth it's a fantastic example of those use cases, how the technology exists. So when you are talking about the new kind of workforce, a connected workforce, I'll probably break it down into the employee and then the customer also. Okay, so at a base level, one thing which has absolutely been adopted across the board now is that it's no more an infrastructure relevance on where your applications are running, right? It is all over the place, right? And it is perfectly fine of it being all over the place, because you have internet is quite robust, and network connectivity is quite robust, and it can address it. But I think as we get into this multi-cloud, multi-world kind of an environment, I think it's going to throw in, and I'm looking at from our own perspective, a unique kind of a model of, trying to give more visibility of how your data is flowing, right? That's going to be very, very relevant. Because it is giving visibility so that you can actually improve performance. And obviously at the core of all this, it has to be secure, right? So it has to be, as it's being developed, the people who are developing these use cases should not be worried about how they have to get information from A to B. And the second one is, they have to not worry about, it being secure. So, from an employee perspective, I don't think employees want to even think about this. This has to just work for them, right? So that's one area. The other one, which again is collaboration, which I think we are like we just said before the recording started. I think we have a kind of hybrid model which will play out, right? If we are getting into a serious brainstorming session where we are throwing ideas, we're seeing the need for this collaboration to be much more immersive, and it could be a hybrid model there. Okay, and that's something a lot of these cloud-based collaboration tools are getting there in terms of giving you that capability. But the critical part is how do you actually arrange this all together within your system? Because one is throwing these collaboration tools to your employees. Second is to teach them how to use it effectively, because everyone says, you use only 30% of your capability of your mobile phone. It's that productivity improvement part of collaboration which we see, putting the technology together, but more importantly, how do you actually run the service more effectively so that your collaboration experience as immersive technologies come and become more effective. If you look at it from the customer's perspective, obviously, we have been talking omni-channel, and I'm sure all of us have, in the recent past, since we have more and more digital, we are buying stuff, and and it's not always easy to buy e-commerce without that human interface. And what is that interface now? Is it chat? Is it WhatsApp? Is it social? Is it it all depends. The democratization for the customer has resulted in the systems to be able to actually integrate this. So the omni-channel is now quite effective if the use cases can be developed, and that model actually, the technology already exists. Now the key thing is to actually perform based on what your customer wants. So that's a major change which we see from customer perspective. In addition to that, it's the overall capability to serve the customer. And Sauvik mentioned about this example which we had worked jointly for Chroma, where we wanted to actually introduce a mechanism where the service is completely integrated, and I think there is a lot of scope for room as 5G and other use cases can come in, and immersive AR VR can be done, and we can tap the person. That will be even more interesting. Okay, so those are some key changes we do see as interesting use cases which are playing out.
Sure. Wonderful, Hari.
Just one point I want to add to Hari is, see, the newer type of data will be required. See, we have gone through the past where we can see how many people are going through the lift, unstructured data, right? What's the frequency of net traffic getting used in geopolitical zones or normal geo zones? See, the newer tech, the newer communication tech will completely evolve and give us newer data which requires to be secured. Because so much of network will flow, so much of internet accessibility will happen from so many types of devices. Security becomes very, very important. And not only at a user level, at a state level, at a country level. That is very, very, very critical. And the last point I had you mention was, I am very, very, I'm having my commerce background of across 20 plus years. The E is going to go away. The E is going to go away because if you shop in big basket or Tata Click or Chroma or 1MG or Carrot Lane, I'm mentioning our groups, consumer internet businesses, the 5 to 6 minutes is the dwell time. The remainder of the commerce is your fulfillment from warehouse, dark stores, shops, stores, the kiranas. When the guy comes with the EDC machine and basically takes your PIN or you do COD, where is the E in it? There is no E. There is physical commerce. E was a wrapper for 6 or 7 minutes. So that's a very important point Hari mentioned. I want to complement that thought with this.
Great. Wonderful. So Sauvik, you've told us a lot of these futuristic and fabulous technology trends in the future. So I want to talk about one such interesting technology trend, that of a super app. So what exactly is the concept of a super app, and how does this concept tie back to the idea of a hyper-connected environment?
It's a very good question, and I will talk about a little bit about what we are doing. See, the concept of a super app, first thing first, the Americans and the Europeans haven't cracked it. It's the base. So there are very large apps. Before we use the word super, let's call it very large apps. In a large app with crux of a hook, which makes a user as a destination to go there. Example, let's take the example of Amazon. It's a large app, X million product SKUs, a huge long tail, Flipkart is a pure play retail commerce app over-indexed on selling phones, prima facie. From a safety pin to a mobile phone, and if you see commerce, Amazon and Flipkart, they haven't done very well on fashion. Hence Myntra's existence. I will only talk about the India context, then I'll take you around. Come back to me. Just hold that thought.
Sure.
So these three pivoted as large apps. One in fashion, one tried to do everything, the everything store, and the other one tried to do again everything, but prima facie retail. Let's talk about Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, we had Grab, which was prima facie a coupon, food tech, sort of a large app. The big daddies of Zomatos and the Swiggies. Grab took over multi-country. Then you have Gojek. Gojek was nothing but another Ola Uber in Indonesia, which biggest hook was ride hailing, right? Everybody, and then you have WeChat. Biggest hook was chat. And then you go to Alipay, whose biggest hook was payments. Example equivalent is our Paytm. Everybody's got a hook. Normal commerce, food tech, Grab, Gojek, ride hailing, Paytm on payments or Alipay on payments. And then in the fringes started appearing something like a Lazada, who tried to do grocery plus electronics plus ride hailing. Then you have this AirAsia Malaysia super app, who does money, holidays, packages, salon, spa, retail as a complementary to it. So everybody had one core hook. What it did was, in the European and North American market, you don't need a super app because you've got category champions. Example, Tesco is a grocery champion. I can do online only through Tesco being there. Number two is, say, Walmart or Target, who are total retail champions. Also, Europe and America are iPhone bases. It's a very costly phone. Processing power is very, so whether I can actually have 20 apps and I can do 20 things for 20 apps. Now, come back to China and Southeast Asia and India. We've got $100 phones from Xiaomi, 5A to Oppo, Vivo, and I'm not even going to OnePlus because it's an expensive phone, or Samsung. And then you have the M31s of Samsung. We are an Android nation. China actually is a Chinese phone nation. $100, $200 phones don't have processor speed to hold. And this was prevalent in Southeast Asia and Asia, where the phone actually drove the smartphone, lack of processor. I can't have 32 apps on a Redmi $100 phone or a Lava, it'll crash. Then the everything app started to come, so everything started to get consolidated. That led to the concept of a super app. And yes, as you have read and we have spoken, Tata Neu will be a super app. And Tata Neu super app is partly to build the Tata, bring the Tata ecosystem together, where financial services is there, where retail is there. Now we have got two high frequency organizations like 1MG and Big Basket. Then you will have travel and hospitality, and you know our travel portfolio, we control routes, we control rooms. And of course, partners like Tata Comms are there, and very many partners. It is to bring the Tata ecosystem together. I don't want to give the surprise away, but I think we will show the country in the coming year what it is all about. But that's the overarching model. It is in, as you have read, it is in Tata Employee Pilot. But I'll leave it to that because the surprise factor is so important to us for the country to see what we have worked for the last 2.5 years on.
So Sauvik, you control the routes and you control the routes. So all the best for your
I control the tech. That's more important.
No, wonderful. Sauvik, so you also have very strong and radical views on technology. You know, I was going through your LinkedIn profile and it said that you believe that technology is junk if it doesn't impact human lives. So what and how will technology shape the planet by 2050? Your thoughts on this? And are we building technology in an ethical, disciplined way for our next 2 generations to come?
We are not. We should be, and we have to. Some of us across the world are trying. Hence the Google Senator inquiry, hence the Facebook Senator. You can't just move data without the ethical, explicit consent of a user. Hence, Apple championing the branding on privacy. Ethics on an internet ecosystem where so much is there, which is unethical is very difficult to govern. But what we can do as business houses is bring ethics as part of our operating model, business model. Organically, it's going to impact the technology prowess. But what you asked me is a very important question. If a technology cannot make riverberine, which is the crux medicine of cirrhosis, reach the user in time when he or she's ran out, what's the point of tech? If the farmer who has just paid off his loan is not able to connect to the distributor for his last harvest within minutes, what's the point of tech? If technology cannot solve that my dearest and loving ones in a split second gets to see the joy of my life, or example, a baby has been born in an OT somewhere in Santa Clara, and I am able to see in micro milliseconds through a response of an API, what is the point of tech? Tech will not be the enabler. Tech will be the driving force. Tech was enabler in between 20 to 2015. Last 5 years, tech has started driving it. Tech is of no use if human lives are not impacted for progress, for prosperity, and for co-wealth creation. Not single wealth creation, co-wealth creation. So 2050 is too far away. 2030 is not far away. 2030, we will see tech reaching the pivotal of what humanity can do. But the last thing, if tech has to solve, is salinization, where the world is starting to grow immense scarcity of water. Tech can solve salinization. Colonization, I don't care. Tech has to give us water. Secondly, tech has to solve is the most important part in India is clean up Ganges. If tech and data, Ganges has driven the socio-political, religious, and economic climate of the country. The last piece tech has to solve, and I'm sure it will solve, is putting food on the table. So something like the way communities are revolving, if NFTs and if tagging, I'm not talking about Bitcoins, if NFTs can put food on the table, that will be tech's exuberant point in time. We're not far away. We just have to figure out use cases. And more importantly, human beings have to have the intent to do it. Not very many are Tata Group in the world.
Absolutely.
Where 102 billion goes away to hold the country's backbone in making people's life better across from Jamshedji's time. I wish there were about 100 Tata Groups in the world. We'll be in a much better place, tech-driven by 2050.
Sure. Great. No, like Hari said, the technology is there. It's just up to us, up to the industry to come up with use cases now that will actually, make tech for everybody good. Great, gentlemen. We've had an amazing conversation till now, but we are fast approaching the end of this session. So one final question to Hari before we wrap up this fireside chat. Finally, Hari, for the benefit of the CIO community watching this session, coming back again to the hyper-connected ecosystem, could you summarize on the technology strategy that's needed for making hyper-connected ecosystems a reality?
Yeah, thanks, Yash. So, the way we look at it is, I think it's important to have a better visibility of how, and Sauvik mentioned this in multiple examples, how the data flows, right? And the criticality of the data, right? And so from a technology perspective, we do see that with, what is more important now is, you have to have a very strong, interconnectivity, which has to, where you have to have visibility of how your data flows. So that visibility is one key area. And the good part is that due to, the software nature of, network also, there is that those use cases are yet in the development stage, I would say. I mean, some of these technologies have been around for some time, but actually to see how your data flows so that you can actually give a better experience to your employee and your customers are use cases which are in development, and we do see a lot of that. The other areas are obviously around, the entire element of, securing every element of your Internet of Things. Any new solution which you are putting as part of your systems, like Internet of Things or any kind of technology which you put at, within your system, that is now communicating. And if that's communicating, how it is communicating, the way it is communicating, and is it secure, has to be at the start of the journey. I invariably see, this is usually an afterthought, and it's now as you build it, that the security elements have to be built in. The third part which we look at is around the entire communication, between the customer and employee. How do we actually enrich that model? I think that from a CIO perspective is becoming a very interesting challenge, because there are a lot of technologies out there, but you have to create your use cases and you have to constantly re-educate the system and make it very intuitive so that they can actually start using it, using voice, video, messaging, chat, whatever. That interaction models with both the customer and the employee are going to become really, really big. Finally, whatever be the technology, as I said, I think the security element has to go in more upstream. It can't start at the end. It has to start at the very beginning. Previously, I recently spoke to a CIO, and he gave an interesting. Previously used to have an application guy in the room. The developers used to be there in the room. Then there used to be the infrastructure guy started coming into the room, because the minute cloud came, I think now he has the security guy in there, because as the application is being built, security has to be thought through, because the applications are built at a very rapid pace now. People don't have the patience to actually wait for the development to happen. They and then test it. As you develop it, you test it. At the middle, you have to have the security layer also embedded, right? So a lot of thought in this area, is happening. We see it across the Tata Group also. But I think it's something which is very paramount. These are some of the top of minds, Yash, from my side.
Great, wonderful discussion, gentlemen. That's all we have time for, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. To sum up the session, building a hyper-connected ecosystem requires laser-focused strategizing across key facets of secure networks, omni-channel collaboration, and Internet of Things-based solutions built on cloud infrastructure. The key for enterprise technology leaders to achieve this is to align technology with business, and also to align with the right technology partner. With this, we come to the end of this session. Thanks a ton, Sauvik and Hari, for sharing such amazing insights. And thanks, viewers, for watching us. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yash.
We now move on to a very topical discussion around our theme, hyperconnected ecosystems, building block for digital business. In this panel discussion, we have today with us senior enterprise technology leaders who will throw light on building a hyperconnected ecosystem that requires laser-focused strategizing across key facets of secure networks, omni-channel collaboration, and the cloud infrastructure. So what are the building blocks of each of the strategic areas? How can organizations holistically merge this into an effective, hyper-connected space? And how can businesses navigate the advanced world of hyper-connected digital experiences seamlessly are some of the questions that we will be discussing in this session. So please join me in welcoming our panelists. I have with me Mr. Raj Niravati, Head of Technology, Watches and Wearables, Titan Company Limited. Mr. Yogesh Kumar, Head IT and Business Applications and CXO, the Tata Advanced Systems Limited. Mr. Makaran Joshi, Head IT Operations Excellence, Tata Technologies, and Mr. Abhishek Sharma, Associate Vice President, Sales, Tata Communications. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me for this session.
Thank you, Shubha. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure is ours.
Thank you so much. So, to get started, Raja, if I can start with you, the rapid acceleration that we are seeing, in the digital initiatives over the last 1.5 years, like I mentioned, it requires a robust foundation around connectivity and collaboration. So, if you can highlight the key facets of your digital strategy from a connectivity and collaboration perspective.
Sure. As you know, Titan is heavy into brick and mortar shops, and Titan is more into a physical presence, right? And with pandemic hitting us, right, we discovered ourselves into a very unique place because we are not a essential commodity like some of other products, right? We are a non-essential commodity, and suddenly you have stores shut down. You have suddenly the workforce, not used to coming to office or coming to the stores. Suddenly everybody is at home. So we actually discovered ourselves into a completely different situation that we are not used to. In fact, some of the beliefs were there. You can't be productive if you are not in person. So, that kind of a mentality existed in the organization. And when we were pushed to the corner and we said that, this is the new age of life and this is the new way of doing things, we had to almost reincarnate ourselves at the pace in which the entire community has changed. So yeah, pandemic has impacted us also. I would not kid around and say we did not have any impact. So yeah, on a war foot basis, in a way we look at it as we got some breathing time to actually think and rediscover ourselves, to be very honest. And part of the initiatives that we have done is, yes, we have put in a very strong message in the organization saying that, I think digital, or more and more, I think today the new word is phygital. So it's a combination of physical and digital is what we are fully geared up to, and that is what we are doing. So we had technology, we had the bits and pieces of portions available. So as I said, mobile enablement is truly not digital, right? So just bringing your facets on mobile is not digital. Digital is about really connecting all the end dots. Digital is about bringing that last mile connectivity. It's about the ability to make decisions real time. So all of these things is what we have really done in the last 18 months. And today, some of the solutions that we have is we are enabling our users to actually do virtual try-ons. We are actually having users select a product, order it online, and if they wish to do a pickup at the store, then they can do a pickup at the store, or the vice versa. So they can order online something and then they can return it on the store. So we have combined the strength of the organization and we have provided that 360-degree view to our end customers that is not possible with some of those forces. And then I think truly we are proud of what we could accomplish. And today, even from a workforce point of view, 60% of the workforce today, particularly on the technology, corporate and everything, are working from home. And in between, we started work, but again, suddenly Omicron pushed us back into the working from home model. So we have evolved in the last 18 months much more than we can dream of. And I would say that, we are definitely geared up to, run the next wave, no matter whatever the challenges are.
So when you pointed about how you are now engaging with your customers, I think that is a true example of omni-channel engagement that is going to be the way forward with many organizations. And when you spoke about virtual try-on, something like that, I think connectivity there, the customers do not they do not appreciate a lag, not appreciate, they will move to another channel. So therefore connectivity, I think, becomes really key for an organization like yours.
Absolutely. We've in fact implemented large scale cloud implementation on AWS. Then we have actually done one of the largest implementations for Salesforce in India to make sure that we are able to give that 360-degree view of the customer and make sure that we have all the touch point connectivity. So it's not just the infrastructure, but we have upgraded the infrastructure plus technology, plus also the mobile enablement with the latest augmented and virtual reality to provide that uncompromised experience to our consumers.
Right, absolutely. So Yogesh, you are from a completely different industry. Here we are talking about B2C, and you come from a B2B industry. So from your perspective, what kind of connectivity and collaboration initiatives that you undertook during these last 1.5 years to support the acceleration of digital initiatives and digital transformation within your organization?
So in our case, we are dealing with defense. So manufacturing of the defense equipments that are very critical in nature, like missile launches, that cannot happen at home. So for that, physical presence is definitely required. But the persons having the design background, software development teams, right, IT teams or support team, that can work from home. So we adopted a model of 70-30%. So 30% which were required to be present at the site in the factory, they were given permissions, and we had taken that permissions from the government. So that was allowed because of the defense background. So, but going back to this, the allowed persons, the software or design. So specifically, we faced challenge in case of designers, because when they wanted to access the design resources, and that are very heavy in nature and very bandwidth centric, right? So having only remote connectivity normally will be disastrous for them. So we had come out with the solutions, and we had taken a solutions from Citrix or some other collaboration channels. So we transported only image. So in that case, bandwidth optimization was done, and we were able to, the designers were able to take the remote of their systems, even with the very, very low bandwidth. So the other challenge which is there, and definitely every other industry is also facing, is the redundancy. If you lose out on certain channel, let's say Airtel connectivity is losing out, then you need to switch over to Vodafone, or you need to change the broadband source. So in that case, we had also given opportunity to the employees to get their broadband activity activated, and additionally we had given the data cards to get the better connectivity. So at times low bandwidth was a challenge, redundancy was a challenge. We were able to come out from that situations. So then bandwidth optimization helped us in carrying out the transactions, and as again there were some restrictions toward the data movement, so we had to go for dual models. We kept our original systems into the factory itself, and we had given only remote, so that data centralization and is taken care, and there is no data movement from out of the premise. So we also come up with some solutions when there was a remote collaboration required from the quality inspection team, customers. So they didn't want to come physically, but at the same point of time, they wanted to inspect the systems. So we design a system where they can come on the Zooms or the Teams or whatever collaboration channels are there. So we put a high quality cameras, and we had given that access to them. Even we had come up with a remote taking facility, so they could operate that machines remotely. So that solutions we had come up, marking the machines and then taking note out of it. So that way we have come out of a situation and taken a new direction altogether. And nowadays we are going for the AR/VR solutions also, so that it can further boost our digital transformation strategy. So at the same point of time, for any industry, as the cybersecurity was a challenge, for us also there was a challenge, and it was manifold as compared to the other industry, because defense was onto the target. So we had to So we had come up with a solution that we deployed few solutions, and SOC monitoring was enhanced. We had moved to XDR, and then we tried to have a better and better education for the employees. So they must be aware what kind of issues are going on across the world. So that was the thing that we had taken ahead. Automation also we had come up. So instead of going for only manual thing, so automation was very much required because of the lean and thin manpower status. So few of the automated solutions were implemented. Although cloud implementation were not there, but still we had gone for the AI/ML solutions, and we had taken a lot of computation power into the premises, and we taken out those, we carried out those solutions as per the customer need or the internal needs.
Yogesh, you spoke about cybersecurity. I think that's a very critical topic, and we will come to the security aspect later in the conversation. So, Mr. Joshi, as we are seeing, there is rapid acceleration in the digital initiatives that we have seen over this last 18 to 20 months, and all this requires a strong, robust foundation around connectivity and collaboration. So if you can highlight some of the key facets of your digital strategy from a connectivity and collaboration perspective.
Unlike many other organizations, we are in a totally different world. We are into engineering services world. And we are not a typical software company where we develop PC-based softwares, or we develop some enterprise softwares. While we do so, our major thrust is on engineering services. And per se, industry had some challenges. It is not that a normal case where engineering services organization employees or customers, they can interact and collaborate on the fly, and they can work from anywhere, unlike many other companies in the world, right? However, this particular incident, this pandemic forced everyone, including our customer, including our partners, including our competitors, including our employees, to explore different ways where we can work from home. And definitely our customers also helped us. It was very nice of them. They allowed our employees to work from home, except certain projects where those projects are very critical, very confidential in nature. Rest everything, we allowed our employees to work from home. Of course, we faced challenge in the beginning. We were not ready. It's not that, for example, in our organization, every person did not carry a mobile unit, which is a laptop, right? Majority works happens on a dedicated workstations, which is compute hungry, which is resource hungry device. And it was difficult time for us to provide these equipments in the initial phase. However, we managed that. In terms of collaboration, I mean, we have, it is not related to pandemic, but we have seen that transitions happening over a period of time. For example, we used to leverage Link in the beginning, some 7-8 years ago. Slowly we migrated to Skype, and I have seen that transition taking place, and how much IT need to get involved, how much IT need to convince users, what are different advantages of Skype over Link, how we can leverage Skype. And I have seen that another change happening from Skype to Teams. So unfortunately or fortunately, IT did a very little thing. Many employees find out their own ways, find out their own use cases, working with team, and our reliance on email systems has reduced drastically. I have seen many people shifting from email. Well, email is a still major communication platform, still many people are exploring instant communication, instant messaging, instant feedback system. So even if there is an email, people will not tend to reply it through email. People would see that person is present online. They would like to chat one-on-one on Teams. They would like to get connected over an audio call. They would like connect through a video call. And that is, I think, is a huge drastic change that I have seen in this last 18 months.
Abhishek, I want to bring you into the conversation. You heard from both Raj and Yogesh, completely different industries, and they brought in the perspective from their industries. And one thing common is that whether it is a B2C industry or B2B, they are accelerating the implementation of solutions such as IoT, AI/ML, AR, VR, as we saw them talking about it. Now, I want to understand, how does hyper-connected ecosystem help, in enabling these digital ecosystems effectively? So what is your understanding of the term hyper-connected ecosystems and the market dynamics that define hyper-connected connectivity for enterprises?
Sure. So it really is a defining for time, isn't it? Digital hyperconnectivity. So if you really look at it, it's essentially connecting data, people, assets, anytime, anywhere. I think a lot of what Raj and Yogesh talked about also had resonance. While the use cases will differ, but I think if you see the underlying theme, the unifying thread, it is pretty much about hyperconnected ecosystem. It wasn't that before COVID, people were not, or organizations were not looking at it. They were already well in the middle of transforming businesses. Digital transformation was here. Of course, thanks to COVID, it had to kind of be made the top priority by everybody. But there were some interesting propositions which were getting created across customers, employers, partners, across the ecosystem. I think with COVID, that has again taken a bit of a priority because of the simple need to quickly transform business given the change in the landscape. You had a lot of workers having to move out of home. You had a lot of customers, working out of home. So I think I heard resonance. I got resonance in what Raj was talking about in terms of the consumers were typically in a brick and mortar model would be at his store. Now, how do you handle a customer query when he's logging in from his mobile phone or his laptop, right? So all of these developments have meant that there is a need for the whole model to be relooked at, I think, which is something that hyperconnectivity, the ecosystem demands and necessitates. The other key aspect is a consistent user experience. Be it employee collaboration, be it customer experience, be it partner connectivity, that's the single most important aspect is user experience, because that will determine how well that model is going to scale. It requires a very strong foundation for connectivity, communication, collaboration across the entire value chain. The whole thing can fall apart if you do not have the right tools in place. And when I actually look at the connectivity in the current landscape, I think it's so much more than just pipes or just access. Now you need connectivity which is intelligent, which is agile, which can transform itself quickly. You need to view things more from a user persona point of view, instead of just designing a network and let it be a bottleneck and then work around that bottleneck. The idea is to really see how you can actually look at each of these personas, be it, say, the customer, be it an employee, be it a partner, and there can be colors within these different personas, and then put in those elements as part of your network design philosophy. I think that's what is really happening. And this is what I think eventually will enable this whole thing to scale further.
Great, thanks, Abhishek. So, Raj, Abhishek spoke about the different personas. He's the customer, the employee, the partner. So, how are you enabling hyperconnectivity between this ecosystem, between employees, customers, partners, and systems? And more specifically, if you can talk about the employees, because we are seeing that the hybrid workforce model probably is here to stay. It may not be completely remote working or completely on-site on-prem working, but we'll see a hybrid model. So how are you seeing your IT infrastructure cope up with this and enabling this hyperconnectivity that we're talking about?
So yeah, from an employee's perspective, I'll give you both employees and also I'll give you one interesting use case that we have done with our suppliers also. So from an employee perspective, right now we are completely enabled. I mean, as I said, 18 months ago, if you asked me, the word was no, it's not possible. In fact, one day work from home is, a big no kind of it. But today we have executed, even our CEO says that 100% work from home is a possibility. So we are completely connected. We have put in all the tools in place to make sure that the collaboration happens real time. We have put in checks and balances to make sure that the code is checked in into the right places on a daily basis. We have made sure that the productivity happens with virtual meetings. So all of those things which are a theory, now it's 100% practical. In fact, my own team, like we are 100% remote, and in fact, some of the times people feel that, when we are at home, the productivity is higher than actually, in the office. And some of them are actually working from tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, thanks to geo and places where, even in the smallest villages also geo connectivity has established, fiber net. So we've put in security firewalls to make sure that people are logging in securely. And we have made sure that people are actually connecting to our servers and then uploading code on a daily basis. And we have enabled, remote working 100%. And we collaborate almost on a daily basis where, the entire work model is agile. And then we have daily stand-up meetings. And then with that, the work gets understood, organized, and then we know every single person what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. In fact, IT is the most easiest, I would say, that people could figure out and people are able to do it. Then the second dimension to it is the manufacturing side of it. Manufacturing, cannot happen remote. Like we have large factories in Hosur, Bangalore, near Bangalore, where we have, people have to come to the, factory for manufacturing. Unfortunately, we cannot, right? That is where we have actually implemented a lot of IIoT, Industrial Internet of Things, where people are able to actually, for certain portions of the manufacturing, now we are able to do it using IIoT, where during the evenings, like particularly in Karnataka and some of the states, we had night curfews, right? How would we actually run a 24/7 manufacturing job where you could let machines operate, and we have virtual way of monitoring some of these things that has been placed. So in fact, our Hosur factory is one of the first few factories in India which has implemented IIoT, where we can measure the quality, we can instruct certain batches to perform, completely 100% on its own. So those things we have put in place. Then the third thing is when it comes to our suppliers, right? One of the things that we have done is earlier what used to happen is we used to bring in a lot of suppliers for road shows. Then you have product displays. Then you have that touch and feel for it. And then suppliers used to select it. Okay. That was a good thing for them. And they loved the whole thing, right? Now it's all virtual, right? Now, guess what we did? We did a small change. Earlier, what happens is when you are actually getting a catalog, right? It's a limited catalog. I mean, based on the intelligence that the RBH or the sales head has on that region, they would pick up a certain models and then they would give it out to their distributors, and distributors have to pick from the range that has been provided to them. Now, with the digital enablement, guess what we did? We opened up the entire catalog to our suppliers. And this was first of its kind. And we let our suppliers order from the catalog, right from manufacturing to the supply chain to the product visibility. Now 100% is made visible to our suppliers. Now they are loving it because now, they are no more dependent on the sales head. Now these suppliers, they know what runs in their shop better, and they have that 100% decision to make on what products they would like to get on. And we did the reverse enablement also. Now we also know in every single store what inventory is available, what inventory is moving, what inventory is not moving. So that way we have connected it on two sides. And that will also help us into the last mile connectivity, because now if a customer is ordering something, we know that, on that particular zip code, this particular store, either it is our own store or it's our franchisee or our partner store, we know where that is available, and we are enabling that last mile connectivity in less than 2 hours, which is like, phenomenal that did not exist before. So all of these things is something that we have implemented, and that's making wonders for us both in terms of the product movement, plus also gaining that visibility directly from the on ground. Getting that real-time visibility on what is moving and what is not moving will help us also enable our supply chain to adjust our manufacturing according to these things.
That's a very interesting implementation use case that you spoke about. So, Yogesh, when we talk about enabling hyper connectivity between employees, customers, partners, and systems as well, because it's not just the humans, it's also the machines that are connecting to the network now. So how are you enabling this hyper connectivity? And you also spoke about the hybrid workforce model in your case, where you mentioned that 70% of the workforce is working from home. And probably this kind of the ratio might be different, but hybrid work models probably will become the future. So can you talk about some of the IT infrastructure initiatives that you have undertaken to enable this hyperconnectivity?
So, Shra, how we have taken it, we had come up with a collaboration medium and IT infrastructure landscape change by adopting the cloud plus on-premise implementations. So, whatever is not critical or can move to the cloud, we have moved that infrastructure to the cloud and enabled that easy collaboration with all the employees. So they are interacting directly to the clouds, but obviously some security infrastructure is also required to be placed. So that we have placed. And the employees which were required to have only collaboration with the on-premise infrastructure and cannot move to the cloud, that were taken care separately. So the systems were placed inside that, or only remote collaboration was given. And in order to have only video collaboration, they were having the teams or that is talking to the cloud or not required to move anything from the cloud, from the on-premise. Then the accessing of the machines. So as Raja said, so we had also deployed IIoT solutions. So whatever is required to operate remotely and is required onto the, for example, physical presence is not at all possible, then we had enabled that machine with IIoT solutions. And definitely, again, there was security concerns. So put into that one, we have developed our own security solutions towards that in collaboration with the DRDO and put into it. So for us, majority compliance and governance was the important thing that to be taken care of. So within that limit, whatever could be achieved and adopted as a model from the cloud collaboration, AIML. So we had taken that into the consideration. So going forward, as hybrid solution will be there for some time going forward. So we are strengthening the solutions more and more with the automation, so that personal touch is required very less and less. So and there are less chances of the mistakes towards the human or any other intervention. So this is how we can take it forward, and with the new age technology, cutting edge technologies like AR, VR, AIML. So these are coming up, and the advantages of these technologies is definitely more and more, and implementation of few solutions that we had taken remotely, we had succeeded into that one. Digital transformation strategy also, we had come across the various segments. We had implemented some solutions, and then we have reaped out the benefits of that. So environmental study was very, very important for us. So we had not just taken out a solution and implemented as such. So when we talk about the hyperconnectivity, so all segments to be connected properly, and their things can be considered and properly taken care of, that it should not have any impact on their productivity itself, right? Whether it is a machine or process or human, so all must be connected properly, and the required connectivity at required time only, not beyond the required time also. So that is also very important. So we had taken that measures, and reports also we fetched out, and we studied those reports, whether it is from the security system or from the machines, and put a checks and balance at the required places. This is how.
Rakesh, some really great initiatives that you have pointed out. What we are seeing is that connectivity and collaboration therefore became very key for you, and in fact for all the organizations during this time. Now, what we're talking about here is enabling hyper-connected digital ecosystems, and that is where we are seeing the market moving towards. Now, this means that enabling hyper-connectivity between employees, customers, partners, and systems, and that is the entire ecosystem. The operating model has changed, and hyper-connected digital ecosystems is what we are seeing going forward. So can you tell us more about how you are enabling this kind of hyper-connectivity between employees, customers, partners, and systems? And also, like you mentioned, from a hybrid workforce model, and this is going to be here to stay for some time. I mean, at least for the long term. So how are you seeing your IT infrastructure cope up with this?
Okay, let me answer it in a different way. Without knowing that this is a hyper-connected ecosystems, I mean, it was a continuous progress, continuous improvement for us. I think hyper-connected ecosystems, hyper-connected networks, hyper-connected environment is a new buzzword. For me, it is not IT infrastructure upgrade. I think it is a mixture of everything. We, as a employee, as a person, we have to be a little more agile, little more educated, little more aware about the new phenomena that is happening. We have to align our processes, we have to align our policies in order to ensure that everything goes smooth. Of course, we have to change the platform. So I normally call it as a 4P: people, process, policy, and platform. But normally we tend to connect only with the platform. When we talk about infrastructure upgrade, we talk about, let's say, hyper-converged infrastructure, next generation firewall, next generation network, software-defined storage, software-defined everything, right? But I think that's not the only thing that we should be talking about. We should be talking about holistic approach, where our entire ecosystem is geared up to the next level. Let me give you some small examples. I mean, we have still legacy systems, right? For example, we have performance appraisal systems, we have skills management, we have travel management, blah, 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 right? There was no single application where we could collate different task activities getting generated out of these various 7-8 different applications. So what we did, we created one platform, one mobile application, simple mobile application, wherein we could get these alerts from these different systems and allow stakeholders to take a decision on the fly. So they don't need to log on to multiple systems and either approve, reject, or needs some clarification, right? So I think this is one of the innovative way by which we can connect all these systems. So here we created a small application which talks with different applications and different stakeholders and do this chamatkar, do this on the fly decision, enables our stakeholders to provide this feedback online whenever there is a need be. So there are many such use cases. You can find your own use cases. What is required for you may not be appropriate for me. What is appropriate for me may not be applicable for another company. So we have to find out our own use cases in order to digitize in order to digitalize every system, every application, not just digitize it. Don't digitize for sake of digitization. We have to be digital in our mind.
Right. So absolutely correct. It has to be a combination of people, process, and technology, and taking a holistic approach. And I want to now, Abhishek, I want to ask you, when we are talking about hyper-connected ecosystems, the important parameters, let's say from the employee perspective, is employee experience in the workplace. And if you look at it from a customer perspective, it's positive customer experience. So in the context of both the employees and the customers, so from the employees, what are your views on how organizations can build the foundation for a successful workplace in this digital era? And from the customer's perspective, how important is omni-channel customer engagement? So if you can give your view on both these aspects.
Yeah, so on the employee front now, one of the effects or the impacts of COVID has actually been democratization of the entire IT landscape. Also the entire workplace, but especially around IT. There's been a lot of, it's a great leveler, the whole impact that has been. So from an employee perspective, there's a need for sensitivity. Now, when you actually talk about putting in controls, putting in checks and balances, when obviously you have these security threats that you have to also manage, there is a need for a very clear zero trust sort of a model that has to be in place, which to the employee feels pretty seamless. So I think that's super important for the whole hyper-connected ecosystem to work, because connectivity really is the bedrock. I mean, without that, and on top of connectivity comes the security aspect that needs to be plugged in. It has to be seamless. It has to be absolutely invisible to the extent possible for the user. So I think from an employee perspective, that's really critical. And of course, there has to be consistency of experience. So that's, I think, and in fact, when I go around and I talk to CIOs and I talk to the likes of Raj and Yogesh across the board, I think one concern that they've all typically agreed on, and I think that's something that has been an improvement area, but remains to be a focus area, is the uniformity of experience across their users and their employees. So I think that is one important aspect that people, that organizations are focusing on. The digital work, the hybrid workplace is a reality. So it's not going away. Even post-COVID, you will see a large section of employees who will be working from anywhere, and therefore this will continue to hold a lot of importance. From a customer perspective, and it was very interesting to listen to Raj and the whole transformation that Titan have done. I think one aspect that Raj probably, I'm sure would also acknowledge is probably finding out new customer segments, finding out new markets, which might not have happened. Maybe when the strong brands such as Titan and Tanishq, they have a big brand recall among the Indian diaspora. So I'm pretty sure they would have been pleasantly surprised to discover a lot of customers logging from overseas to check out and actually order via the video channels or these digital channels. So I think that's been one great revelation of the omni-channel focus that has been made all the more important because of COVID. But you do need platforms that are agile, that are reliable, and that have scalable. Otherwise, as I spoke about the employees, the consistency of experience is equally important for the customers. So if I'm logging in from my iOS device, or am I logging in from my Mac, from my Android, the experience should be uniform, similar. So you need a platform which actually is scaled on that front. Also, in terms of use cases would be different. So, for example, for Titan, maybe customer buying something virtually could be a use case. For Yogesh, maybe training a large section of employees who are going to be stationed at one of the premises is going to be a use case. But at the end of the day, the platform should be then flexible enough to transform itself to offer these different use cases. So I think that's the other important aspect: how scalable and agile the platform is, and how robust are the building blocks. That will play a very critical role.
So what we are seeing is that security, I think, is something that has come across in this discussion quite often, and I really want to stress on that aspect now in my next question. What we have seen is that the COVID and the ensuing acceleration of digital adoption has also created the perfect storm for the threat actors, for the cyber adversaries to launch highly sophisticated attacks. Because the more you move to digital channels, the more vulnerable the companies are becoming to cyber attacks, and we have seen the number of and the volumes as well as the sophistication of cyber attacks increasing over the last 1.5 years. So what this means is that whether you're looking at a frictionless employee collaboration or a superior omni-channel customer engagement, all this has to be under the umbrella of security and ensuring that the underlying systems and data is secure. So considering that, Raj, how did you adapt to a digital engagement model? And you've spoken about a lot of digital engagement models, interesting models. How did you enable those while maintaining, ensuring security, and how are you adopting technologies like zero trust security to modernize your cybersecurity architecture?
See, like COVID is here to stay. I think we all accept it. So similarly, I think cyber issues are here to stay, and they're only more and more increasing with the digital footprint that is being increasing. I think there's no two ways about it. So this has been all along there. But as we see very high adoption of users into mobile apps and all, and particularly Android being less secure compared to iOS, right? That enables people to actually do more and more sophisticated phishing, all the way from a simple Paytm link that is given to you that can, pull away money from your bank account to several other things. So what we did at Titan is, so we try to create a holistic approach towards our cybersecurity and data security. The first and foremost that we have done is the email, because a lot of times what happens is some of the phishing attacks are happening with emails sent by your name as a proxy and to your own people. I don't know how many of you have seen, but one of the most things that I've seen today is, suddenly if let's say we're working with some partner, right? The partner email would come with the same name, but if you carefully observe in the name or in that domain name, there would be a small typography added on, but they would say that, hey, we have changed our bank account details. Can you please remit going forward to this account? It's as simple as that. And you would get that email on the last week of the month. So we've enabled on the email several scanning softwares to make sure that some of these scam emails are actually filtered out. Second thing is we have enabled two-way authentication for all of our emails. So that's not an optional anymore. Like as I said, zero trust, right? I'm not making it optional. So every single employee has to enable two-way authentication. So that way what happens is if they are logging in onto their personal email from their personal computer or something, still they have to come onto the primary device and authenticate that device so that at least we have a connected loop mechanism. On the server side, data privacy has become a huge issue. And I don't know how many of you are following up the new PDP rules that the government of India is putting in on consumer data privacy. That's also a very huge, I would say, burden onto the organizations, particularly like a company like Titan, because what happens is we hold a lot of consumer data, and then that consumer data privacy and protection also is our responsibility. And with the new rules that are coming in, it's not there, it's in the policy definition, but we have already subscribed to those insights so that, we are gearing up ourselves saying that, our systems are enabled to comply with those new data privacy laws that are coming in. Plus also we are ensuring that we create those perimeters and boundaries where if at all our data is being handled by our third parties, then they are not misusing the data. Most simplistic thing is the phone number or the email ID. So we cannot distribute, or we are not supposed to use them beyond the boundaries that are defined, according to our data privacy laws. We've also taken initiatives to update our websites also to reflect our new policies and our privacy laws to make sure that that is done. We have actually appointed a chief data security officer inside the company. We actually did a lateral hire in the last 18 months to make sure that there is a dedicated office that is handling data privacy, because you can't just say that, this is important and you don't have an act on it. So in fact, we have created a team that is, their whole and sole responsibility is to safeguard the company's data and also make sure that all the systems are actually using the data in its intended purpose and everything. So we have done that part of it. Plus also we're putting in mechanisms on our products also to actually have the tracing, because one of the biggest issues, like unlike others, right, Titan has another big major issue. We actually have a lot of counterfeit products that surface back on Amazon and Flipkarts. See, because what happens is, like how you have cybersecurity, right? We have physical security issues also. So many counterfeit products show up at 200 rupees, 299 rupees, because it's such a powerful brand, and we face more and more counterfeit products. So what we do is we've also enabled on-ground intelligence teams almost on a quarterly basis. We have intelligence comes in from places and sources where these products are surfacing online. Then we do scanning of our own products, and then we look at the SKUs, we look at the serial numbers. We have put in mechanisms to track back and say that, okay, these are counterfeit products that are coming in. And then now we've created a chain to trace them back. And then our team actually, now we've created a separate again physical team also who goes and raids along with the cops. And then, almost on a monthly or a quarterly basis, we get these announcements saying that, so and so team in so and so location has been busted. And then this is the number of counterfeit products that we have seized. And then, we have put in cases. So it's not an easy job that we are into, but we take this very seriously. And we have done both physical and the cyber loss very seriously. And again, it's an evolving thing, because the more and more the hackers get evolved, so the more and more organization also has to evolve and continue to level up and sustain as well. So yeah, it's not an easy one, but yeah, we have put in a dedicated team and dedicated focus to make sure that we address it in a very holistic way. I wouldn't say that we have addressed everything, because you never know what can throw, but we are preparing. We are constantly upping our game to make sure that we are protected, and also our consumers are protected in terms of counterfeit products, plus also the active measures that we have put in to safeguard the data privacy of our customers. So I would say that is in a nutshell that we've done.
So absolutely, I think today for organizations, cybersecurity is not just about protecting their data, and it's also about protecting the brand, because it tarnishes the brand image of the organization. So Yogesh, while cybersecurity is critical for all industries, I think in your industry specifically, like considering the sensitivity of the work involved, it becomes even more critical. So how are you assuring trusted relationships and interactions across the ecosystem, and that is absolutely vital to the success of your business today. So how are you ensuring that trusted relationships and interactions, and how are you again adopting technologies like zero trust security to modernize your cybersecurity architecture?
So as you rightly said, that is data sensitivity is there. So that's why we have to be very, very cautious about the data first. So we had carried out first the data discovery across the various platforms, across the endpoints, across the servers, and then carried out classification. Then come up with a solution that what is confidential, what is not confidential, what is private, what is public, what can be internal. So that data classification was very, very critical for us in order to safeguard and put the solutions, what kind of solutions can be put over there. So zero trust, in fact, is a concept, not a solution. So zero trust can be there across the multiple platform. And how do you implement it, and how do you safeguard, how do you make sure that continuity is there? That depends. So depends on the type of data, type of communication. So for the most confidential, we had carried out something which cannot be taken out into the digital form itself. So that is completely paper-based. And then there are something which can be kept confidential, plus the digitalization is required, such as designs. So those designs we do not give any kind of access to the outer world, and even downloading it from the system itself, it requires various kinds of approval checks, right? So workflow is there to take care of those things if any case of anything to be taken out from the system, right? So again, I will talk about the environmental study. So for any industry, first environment study is very, very important and critical. So what is important and fit for my organization is not actually fit for Raja or for Abhishek. So we had carried out that detailed environmental studies with the help of vendors, with the cybersecurity experts, and implemented few solutions which has helped us in protecting our data and protecting the interest of the customers. At the same times, we have to ensure the productivity as well. So we cannot put 10 logs into it and just stay back. So we have to provide the connectivity, required connectivity towards that. So data sharing solutions, so which cannot be done onto the public interface. So we have to be very cautious towards that. Then we had taken out few solutions like MDM solutions. We had taken MAC solutions, and the email that the Raja talked about is definitely very, very critical for any organization. For us, even keywords are very important. That's why we do not kept that on the public cloud somewhere. So we had implemented on-premise solutions, and we had protected that with digital certificates, so that a communication between the employees at least is trusted. So nobody from outside can send a mail from the same domain. So DMARC solution also we have implemented. So just like that, we had implemented one more solution, ZTNA, Zero Trust Architectures. So in that case, if employee want to connect from the outside, then first his device to be authenticated. So there are several parameters on which his device to be authenticated. If those parameters are passed, then only that device will get access to that. And apart from that, what we have done, we do not allow the device to access unless and until it is the patch is updated. So patch up, in case it remains unpatched, then first it will connect to the patch server and then download the patches, and once it is patched and the required authentication is done vis-a-vis matching that it is properly patched, then it will allow to the access to the various applications. And applications are also put behind the zero trust architecture, so nobody can just explore it from the outside world. Where is your data located? So there is a proxy in between. So we had taken 3 ways of protection. There are 3 different nodes where the person has to go. And once the connectivity, the authentication of the user is done, then only required connectivity is done in a one-way manner, so that the outside actor cannot get into inside. Then on to the antivirus and EDR solutions also we have taken care of. So no unauthorized device can just go and access our servers. That has to pass across the various levels, and once it's authenticated, then only the device will be connected, and in only limited number of devices will be connected. Physical security also we take care at the factory. We won't allow all mobiles to go inside. So we have stringent rules towards that. So similarly, laptops, we do not allow the personal devices to go there. So there are many checks and balances that we have taken care of. So obviously, at this point of time in hybrid working environment, it becomes difficult, but definitely we have to work upon that. We are putting more and more stringent rules, and we are educating the employees from time to time so that they do not make mistakes while carrying out any data transfer. They do not even talk to the person. If let's say somebody calls from outside, being a senior, and they still want to take a data, so we educate accordingly what kind of sensitivity should be considered.
Now, one underlying aspect that is critical for any for a hyper-connected digital ecosystem is security. The ability to assure trusted relationships and interactions across the ecosystem is vital to the success of any business today. So how are you looking at adopting technologies or concepts like zero trust security to modernize your cybersecurity architecture?
We have implemented, we have implemented security at various levels, like we have implemented security at endpoints. We have implemented security at our perimeter. We have implemented security protocols at email systems. Wherever possible, wherever we see that possible attacks can happen, we have secured our postures. And I think this will be ongoing improvement. The security posture that we had 2 years back, it was absolutely inadequate. The kind of attack, zero-day attack that we got last year, probably we have overcome those attacks, and thankfully we could able to isolate those attacks, isolate those devices, certain area of the network. And but I think it is not the constant thing. It is we have to be on our toes. We have to keep watching the alerts that we get from our SIEM systems and keep on improving.
So Abhishek, what we are seeing is that when you talk about hyper-connected digital ecosystems, I think building trust is one of the most important aspects. So from that perspective, can you help us with Tata Communications' perspective on digital trust, and how are you helping organizations secure their infrastructure, when it comes to digital trust?
Yeah, so digital trust, it will influence experience across ecosystems, commerce, and governance in this current times. And since you have businesses that are going multidimensional, and you have multidimensional and multiple critical relationships across the three key stakeholders, that is customers, partners, and of course the employees, there is a need to create that trust across that ecosystem, which is going to be very important. Now, there has to be a very pragmatic approach which needs to suit to your current environment. So like Raj and Yogesh talked about, the threat vectors and their landscapes in their respective organizations are a little different. So instead of looking at a point solution, what we recommend is a more pragmatic, maybe a more framework-based approach, where you actually have a long-term roadmap in place, instead of trying to plug holes as and when they come. It was interesting to note inputs from both Raj and Yogesh around those areas. Because once you've done that, you can actually, for example, build a trust zone. You can use secure operations which are based or driven by intelligent analytics. And that has to be applied for controls across users, entities, access, threats, and so on and so forth. So that's the approach that we typically go with. It's actually more of security is always a journey. It's never, you never reach a point where you'll say, all right, I'm now 100% secure. So what you need to do is just chart this journey together, but you have to have a clear plan, a sort of a framework that you operate with. That's how we work with clients, to answer your question.
Thanks, Abhishek, for taking us through this, through the digital trust perspective of Tata Communications. Now, I think we're running out of time, so I just want to, wrap it up on a note in terms of what are your key takeaways, for building, for enabling technology for hyper-connected ecosystems. So, Raj, one or two key takeaways you want the listeners, our attendees, to go back with.
I would like to summarize it saying that, digital enablement for hyper-connected world is not about just enabling technology. It has to change the DNA of the company. So it is not technology, it's the culture of the company that has to change. So digital first has to be an organization manifesto, and it has to spread through the organization, not just technology. Technology is just an enabler or one lever to make your entire organization hyper-connected. So I would summarize it that way and say that every organization has to make it part of their DNA and culturally make the difference, because it's the people, technology, and the processes that make a company a hyper-connected and digital-led company.
Thanks. Yogesh, your one or two key takeaways in terms of effectively enabling hyper-connected digital ecosystems.
Key takeaways, I will talk about a few things. So digital transformation and the cybersecurity. So both the organizations are going towards a phase where either hybrid sort of connectivity is there, hybrid workforce is there, or only remote workforce is there as far as software industry is concerned. So all have to take a balance of these transformations, digital transformation studies versus the cybersecurity initiatives. So unless and until it is top driven, so it doesn't work that way. So digital transformation specifically, if it is taken from the top, so and one mandate is given and implemented across the organization, first reap out the benefit and then given back to the organization, whether it is effectively utilized or not, then only it can be taken care of later on. So the all employees have to be connected, and the all systems to be connected based on the requirement, based on the time need, based on the customer need, based on the internal process need. So there cannot be a single way to do these things. And at the same point of time, security is definitely a major point where we have to think of. So it's not the only responsibility of IT team or cybersecurity team to take care of the security of the organization or the data. So it's the responsibility of all. So which has to be even transformed or and delegated to all the employees. So where they need to really understand whether it is my cup of tea or not. Normally in organization, that people think that the cybersecurity or IT thing that is taken care by IT only. No, it's not like that. It has to be taken care across the various platforms and the owned by the people itself. That what, for example, there is a mix now, personal versus the professional one. So every now and then we are using something which are even used professionally. For example, WhatsApp channels, right? WhatsApp channels generally the people do not use for official communication, but there is a miscellaneous those things comes into that place, right? Sometimes it is being used, not used, and there are threat vectors which are trying to hack the organization, hack the individuals. So where these things comes into picture as a bigger threats, right? So we have to be very, very cautious towards that. So so in a nutshell, the employee has to own it, or everybody has to own it, and the wave should go across the platform, across all the employees, various vertical, whether it is a senior, junior, or any
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Abhishek, Raj, and Yogesh have stressed on both people, process, and technology. I mean, it needs to be across all these three areas. However, while of course people and process are very important, I want you to summarize on the technology strategy for a hyper-connected ecosystem. So one or two key takeaways on the technology strategy side, if you can emphasize on.
So on technology, and I think as we've discussed during the course of this discussion, I think technology, there's no one size fit all for technology. At the end of the day, it has to understand the use case, it has to understand business dynamics, business objectives, and then it should be invisible. It should just lead to business results, and the outcome should be directly visible. So as a digital ecosystem enabler, I think the onus or the responsibility is ours to actually understand the priorities and the business problems that our customer faces, and then cause all the interplay of all the building blocks, which I would say include communications network. I cannot stress enough upon the importance of a strong, robust, intelligent communication building block. That has to then work with the omni-channel collaboration and communications tools, a private network fabric, be it IoT, by the upcoming 5G. Then, of course, it has to work with hybrid cloud and cybersecurity. But the interplay of all these 5 elements of the digital ecosystem, this is what I believe is the role that technology will play, and then it has to be, applied in the relevant context for any particular business. So I think that's how I would summarize the importance of technology.
So in fact, we are already seeing that zero trust is becoming critical, as especially in a digital first hyper-connected ecosystems that we are moving towards. So to end the conversation, I wanted to for you to maybe share with us 1 or 2 key takeaways when it comes to effectively enabling a hyper-connected ecosystem. What should be the right strategy for enabling a hyper-connected ecosystem?
I think we have to take our employees into confidence. We should convey to our employees and our all business partners that it is not only responsibility of IT. When it comes to security, it is everybody's individual responsibility to take care of the security from whatever they can do, right? So we carried out certain awareness campaign. We carried out internal phishing. We demonstrated certain phishing attempts. So those were fake attempts, But in a way, we taught our employees, if you could have clicked on this particular link in a real email, probably this would have happened. So, and we actually celebrated those employees who did not fall prey to those attacks. So that way we created some awareness campaign. And as I told you, we have to be always on our toes. We have to upgrade our infrastructure, at least security posture, be it in terms of endpoint, be it in terms of network, or be it in terms of email security systems which are exposed to the external world. We have to improve those every year.
Thanks, to all of you for really summarizing it so well. From my side, all I want to add is that when it comes to for businesses to navigate the advanced world of hyper-connected digital experiences seamlessly, it's not one size fits all. While there are certain aspects which are common across all the organizations, which is cybersecurity, but otherwise, organizations need to find the best fit for themselves, and they need to strategize around people, process, and technology to enable this hyper-connected digital ecosystem. So thank you so much for your time. It was great talking to all of you, and have a great day. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this very insightful session. I would like to thank all the speakers for sharing those wonderful insights. And I would also like to thank the attendees for watching this session. I hope you had a good time and a lot of key takeaways to take back with you. With that, thank you once again and have a great day.